Okay. All right. Let's hear an Utzuetza, Chevre. We live. Utzuetza vesofa. Dabro davar v'leyaku. Utzuetza vesofa. Dabro davar v'leyaku. Ki yimanu keh. Utzuetza vesofa. Dabro davar v'leyaku. Ki yimanu keh.
Okay, here we are. Hey, kid. Hey, kid. What time is it?
Time for Gezintahait 3.
It is time for Gezintahait. And the story tonight connected to the giving of the Torah. It says, I think in the Midrash, it explains about the receiving of the Torah. It says, we said to Hashem, you rode on your horse, and from your chariot comes salvation. Now the Rebbe, receiving Medrash, his first Medrash Rebbe, the son of the Rebbe, was named Abraham the angel, accompanied him to the wagon. The angel said to the wagon driver, whip the horses until they don't know that they're horses. Another version, he said, whip them until they know that they're horses. Now the Rebbe learned a new level of godly service from that word of the angel. He got off of the wagon and he stayed in measures for an extended period of time. I Rebbe said, it's the first version of the story, it says, whip them until they don't know that they're horses. Refers to the service of working from down up. It encompasses an outpouring and nullification of the soul, the desire of the heart to be included in godliness on the run. Second version, until they know their horses, refers to the service of drawing down godliness into the world. The purpose of a horse which is ridden, horse of which the king rode. That's the horse on which Haman led Mordecai. The horse is the king of the universe. That's up. That's an up and down view. To bring Hashem completely into this world, transforming it into the revealed dwelling of the Holy One, blessed. Second part of the story that encompasses from your chariot will come salvation. And when the Alter Rebbe was in jail, Baal Shem Tov and the Mahdi came to visit him. According to the previous Rebbe, they came in their bodies, even though they have already passed away. Shem Tov asked the Alter Rebbe to say a Torah. The Alter Rebbe complied by reciting the discourse that the Mahdi had said when he became Rebbe. He started with the words, the appearance and working was as a wheel within a wheel. Alter Rebbe completed the discourse. When Shem Tov told the Mahdi, repeated it word for word as he received it from me. Alter Rebbe came to the Mahdi, Baal Shem Tov had already passed away. Remember, he apparently heard the story, the way we're telling it, is from a book called Faith Ready. First glance seems to contradict the book Yom Yom from the 18th of Shvat, which indicates that Dr. Rebbe first heard the mimer from Mendel Paradox, not from the Baal Shem Tov. Mendel Paradox was there when the Magi said the mimer. Dr. Rebbe wasn't there. Two apparently contradicting versions can be reconciled easily, assuming the Alter Rebbe heard it from the Baal Shem Tov and the Magi and from the Arda. Besides, hearing from the Arda, they heard it from the two Rebbe. Interestingly, Yom Yom concludes, he then wrote it in his own style for all generations, as it appears in Parshas Yisro, have the original mimer that the Magi said when he became ready, written down in the book called Torah 4. That mimer discusses the idea of the vernal chariot seen by the prophet Ezekiel contains a wheel within a wheel. Mimer explains that the small wheel revolves inside the big wheel and reach a level even higher than the biggest wheel. Small wheel can reach a level higher than the biggest wheel. After all, the smaller wheel is above the bottom of the higher wheel. This dynamic is illustrated in the lives of Jewish leaders throughout the generations. Watching the flocks of Israel, small wheel, they knew worthy to become the shepherd of the Jewish people. A really big wheel. Similarly, King David was a shepherd. Small wheel became a big wheel, the king of the Jews. Baal Shem Tov also functioned as a small wheel. He was a teacher's assistant of young children. Much more so, it's an incumbent on us to walk in their way. If a person sees himself as a big wheel, then he has to concern himself with the smaller wheel. Those of us poor in us suggest a scenario to explain. When a big wheel, an adult, who makes a living, concerns himself with supporting the education of children, small wheel, makes it possible that the small wheel becomes a big wheel. The rabbis support of education in the next generation. One addition to the previous Rebbe. The previous Rebbe has explained what is a chassid. That a chassid is one who speaks little, thinks a lot, does even more. We have a niggun. Do I have anything in mind? The one I want to hear is that beautiful one where Cuba, you know, yeah. No, he's got to get it. I say, Which everybody doesn't know, the words to that song is, one who has not sinned is happy, and the one who has sinned returns to Hashem. Thank you. Beautiful. Now, Gimel Ellis, you should have the file that I said the last time.
Yes, I have the file. I have the file, and if you remember,
Want to turn this on to it?
yeah, if you remember, we was talking about that the philosophers, if you remember back when we was talking about this, they have two questions. One question is how something infinite can create something finite. And the second question was, well, then how can this infinite being, once it creates something finite, still remain infinite and untouched? How can it not be affected by that which it creates? And so the answer is that Hashem creates everything using a ray. And one of the metaphors that we used to explain this ray was the sun and its ray. But this metaphor is not enough to explain the light which fills all the voids. Instead, we need three more metaphors, three more mashalim. One, the light of a candle. Two is how the soul enlivens a body. And three is the power of the actor in the act. As we said, there are three dynamics that are encompassed in the idea of godly light that fills the voids, right? Because it has this aspect of being a light. It also has the aspect of being a life, and it is also a potential, an infinite potential. So the aspect of this light, which is that it's light, it contains two ways that this comes out. There is two kinds of light. There is the light that surrounds, that encompasses, and there is the light that fills. Like we see, for example, that's one of the reasons the light of the sun is not good enough of a metaphor by itself. Because the sun only shines on the earth, but it does not penetrate and it does not combine with the four categories, the four types of creations, right? The inorganic, like the rocks, and the flora and the fauna, right? Those says the growing things and the living things, the animals, and the people, speakers. So the light of the sun only shines on them, but it doesn't go inside of them to enliven them, right? So this is because why? Because like the Rambam says, that the stars are, like including the sun, they are spiritual bodies which have no taste or smell. In other words, they are a fifth category of creation, separate from the ones we said above, which is the inorganic things and the growing things and the living things and the speaking things. So that's the four things is our fifth thing, and this is those stars are a fifth category of creation. So those spiritual bodies, they give out a physical light, or at least we perceive it as a physical light. But that light is only called physical compared to its source. Then it's called physical compared to its source, which is much higher.
Light itself, it looks like it's spiritual. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that it's, in other words, that to us it looks like it's spiritual, but compared to its source, it looks physical.
No.
Yeah. So, anyways, this is, but because it is on a higher.
Light is spiritual. It shines in the garbage dump the same way it shines in the ocean, and itself doesn't change. It's spiritual. As opposed to how it comes out of the source, it's physical compared to how it was in the source. So it's a physical light, but it's a light. And a light is a spiritual thing. You can't grab it, you can't bend it, you can't do nothing with it.
Yeah, it's
okay
like,
with that,
yes. This is how I know that I am a great light, because my wife told me you can't do nothing with this one. Anyways, so this is why, because it's a higher sort of existence, this is why it cannot combine with the four categories of creation that's down here. It can shine on them, right? And not only that, it can help us see, and it can make us voin, but it cannot combine with us to come inside of us and enliven us, because it is a different category of existence. So the ray of the sun shines from up to down, which this is called a straight light. It shines straight, and if something blocking it, it will stop it from shining there, because it is a straight light. Now, on the other hand, and it only goes one way too, it goes that way. And not so the light of a candle, because the light of a candle does not go down. As we know, the light of a candle goes up, because it is drawn from the element of fire, right? From the fire element, which this is one of the elements of the physical world, right? We have fire and water and earth and air, these four elements. Now, of those elements, fire is the most spiritual, but it is still a physical element, and therefore it can combine with something down here. For example, we know that it combines with a piece of wood and with a wick and with a fuel. Herst Fragi. Yeah, I just want to make sure, because I see smoke coming out of your ears. Okay, weiter. So, for example, when we combine fire with a wick and oil, then light is produced. And depending on how much of physical matter there is, how much oil, so this is how long the light will shine. And of course, also, like if it's a big wick, it will make a big fire. If it's a small wick, it will make a little fire. Now, this, unlike the light from the sun, which is called the straight light, this is called a rebounding light or a turning light, right? Because it shines from down to up, right? According, and how much it will shine will be according to how much fuel is behind it. And therefore, it becomes part of creation, unlike the light of the sun. And that's why it goes from down to up. However, even both of these lights, even the light of the sun, which is up from down, and even the light of the candle, which is down from up, they still both only shine, because the light of the candle also cannot enliven the creation. Now, I know if you hold a candle under somebody's bottom, it looks like it's enlivening him, but it's actually just revealing how he is enlivened by something else. So the life of the body from the soul, this is a different thing though, right? Because it flows into the limbs of the body itself, and the soul doesn't just shine on the body, it actually goes into the body and actually enlivens the body and the limbs of the body, right? Which now light does not unify with the thing that it shines on. Right, Fragi?
Yes, but hold on. Action. One action is like the life, but it's all Hashem bringing the world into being from nothing. Why? Easy one, nothing. So the whole say one is the life that means the one of the metaphor illustrates one point of how Hashem brings the world into being from nothing. The light illustrates the point that even though, for example, the sun can light up 1,000,000 houses, look an egg on the sidewalk, give a guy a suntan all at once, and the sun never changes. That's the metaphor of life. And doesn't change how it comes into the world. However, life is a metaphor that does not describe enlightenment. It's another metaphor of how the soul enlivens the body. Why is it called light? Both of them fill the world. One, it gives light. But there's a light that surrounds our world. That would be like the light of the sun. That is the light that fills our world, and that's like the light of the candle. But they're both only light. Be it another metaphor, with is light. Hashem enlightens them. That's why you need both metaphors, but it's Hashem doing it all at once. But you need different metaphors to explain the godly action. So one metaphor will not cover all the angles of the godly action. One metaphor is only in space and time, it's only in 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions maybe, but over here it's God, you have 12 dimensions. These multiple metaphors describe the.
So just to recap.
Are you okay with that, Kimmel?
That sounds good to me, Bezalel. Good explanation. Thank you. So now light does not unify with the thing that it shines on. Like when a candle illuminates a room, it makes no change in the physicality of the room, and the light itself does not change from its being a spiritual sort of thing. Right? So this manifestation of energy is designated only as shining in the room. For example, if there's a chair in the room and the light shines in the room, it will reveal the chair, but it won't make the chair running around. Additionally, if there is a man who is crazy enough to run around in a dark room and you shine a candle in there, the candle will merely reveal the already alive man running around in the room, but will not enliven the man running around in the room. So, not so when the soul enlivens, that's light. But the soul, however, is different. Because when the soul enlivens a body, it unifies with the limbs of the body. And not only that, but it goes to each limb according to its function. It goes into the hand to help it move, and the mouth to help it talk, and the ears to help them hear, etc., etc. Therefore, the life force of the soul, it changes from a spiritual life-giving light to something physical, because it's actually enclosed in the physical hand and ear and eyeball. And the limbs change from not being enlivened to now they're enlivened. Before they was just like a golem, they was just a piece of thing sitting there. But now with a neshama in it, with a soul in it, it's now something that becomes enlivened from the force of the soul that is now enlivening them. And the light of life comes into the limbs in levels, each limb according to its function. Like, for example, into the brain first, and then from the brain it goes into each different thing, into the heart to have emotions, and into the hand to move things, and the mouth to talk, etc. Now, not so the light which shines equally, because if you remember, in our body, the soul comes into the body, and then it will make the hand move like a hand, and will make the eyeball move like an eyeball. It's not going to make the hand see, because it comes into each one according to how it needs. On the other hand, light is not this way. Light only shines equally. It only shows you what's already there, and it shines equally on what's already there. If you will move the chair and put a table, it won't shine differently on the table than on the chair. It will still just shine. The way the life comes into the particular limbs from a soul, this is called an indressing. It dresses in the limbs. It encloses itself in the limbs. But the level of enlivenment, even though it's felt in the particular limbs, nevertheless, it's really, ultimately, it's a simple life. The neshama, the soul, is a simple life. And the way that the limbs grasp that life is simple also. In other words, they all feel alive from the soul that enlivens them. Like, the toes are alive, and the nose is alive, Yes, the nose is alive and the toes is alive.
I just want to point out, in the metaphor of enlivenment, there's two levels. There's one, how the soul is a particular limb, so each one can do what it does.
Yeah.
Another one where the soul surrounds the whole person equally. Like nose is alive, like the toes is alive.
Yes.
So it's two different levels of enlivenment. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah. Okay. So now so that was so this was the metaphor we was talking about, the soul in the body and the light of the candle. Now we will move on to the next metaphor, which is the metaphor of the power and potential of the actor in the act. So the particular powers, like the power of movement in the hand, in which the general life, in other words, is a general life force, like we said, of the soul, which goes into the body. And when it comes into the hand, it becomes contracted to give power to this individual limb to perform like a hand, to do what it's supposed to do. Or, for example, when it goes in the brain, it shows up as a power of intellect, because it becomes contracted to be a power of intellect in the brain. And these particular powers are manifest through the outer vessels called the capillaries, right? But not so how the life is dressed in the inner vessels, the nerves and the pumping vessels, which carry only the general life and not the power. So, for example, there's different kinds of vessels. The inner vessels carry general life. Yeah.
General life everything is equally alive. That's the soul enlivens everything. On the other hand, each limb is enlivened as contracted. That general.
Yeah. So the outer vessels.
No one soul but the parent vessels come get into the particular functioning. It comes through the capillary into the muscle. It's called the outer one. How it enlivens in general is from the nervous system, the brain and the nerve. It's generalized, some kind of feel like that. That's where it is in general life. The both of the soul, both of the soul and the person. In other words, it's the difference between the Malikolam and the Sovakolam. Both of them are from Hashem. Sovakolam is like the general life, where the nose and the toes are equally alive. And the infilling life of the Malikolam, but they're both from Hashem equal. Both in one soul, same to the soul. Sorry, you have to look into it. Good question.
Okay, so now like we say,
here it says the general power is now put into the blood.
Yeah, the outer vessels, they carry how the life is dressed so that it becomes contracted into different specific powers. Whereas the inner vessels, they carry just the life itself, because the indressing of the soul in the blood is in general a power.
That's the general one.
Yeah, it's a power of the actor.
It's a power.
Yeah. So this is the general hidden power to measure out the particular things which will be revealed.
Very good.
like it says, the blood is the soul, right? What is it? Adam hu nefesh. The blood is the soul. That soul in the blood is called nefesh. That's what that. In other words, the soul has it has a specific seat in the blood, and this, when it's where is the seat of this in the body, is in the liver, as we know that the liver refines the blood. And 1 second, where did I go? Oh, however,
So the ruach,
there's a ruach, which the ruach, the spirit of life, right, is in the heart, right? And the level in our metaphors of enlightenment, as opposed to the power of the actor in the act. So this is just
that's
like
going to be the ruach in the heart. It's going to be the enlivenment thing, as opposed to the power of the actor in the act. That's what's going to be in the blood.
right. The actor of the power in the act is the actor in the act will be in the blood, which is seated in the liver.
Now we go to the next higher level.
But the highest level of the soul in the body is called the neshama, and it has its seat in the brain, which corresponds with our metaphor of light, right? But it's an inner
so
light.
Showing us how enlivenment is really light.
Yes.
Both the energy from Hashem.
Right. But it's an inner light, like the candle. And then this is the inner light. In other words, this is like the light that goes inside. But then there's the outer light that surrounds. And the outer light that surrounds will be a higher level of the neshama that doesn't come into the body. And this is called the chaya. And this is this corresponds with the ray from the sun, which comes from up to down.
So the neshama is going to be like the candle.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're gonna have the lowest level, the dam, the blood in the liver. This is gonna be like the power of the actor in the act, like this metaphor. And then we're gonna have the heart is gonna be the general enlivenment. This is gonna be like the metaphor of enlivenment, of how a soul enlivens a body. And then on top of that, we're gonna have the neshama, which is like the light of a candle, which this is seating in the brain. And then above this, even surrounding the body, we have the chaya, which is like the sun, the light of the sun, and how it shines from up to down.
Isn't that elegantly beautiful?
It's very, very elegant indeed, Vitaly. Yeah, so we see the nose and the toes.
That answers your question.
So we see that the metaphor.
That's a different thing, but we're using the muscle of how it is in the person. Right. So the whole world is going to be like a big person. So what I was thinking, did everybody here tell me over tonight? Yeah, this reference. Yeah. Did you say Rafa last night? How about you, man?
Mitzalel, I especially waited to be able to do it.
Oh, here, Gimel Elef, waited special.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go.
So here we go.
We'll say Mitmir.
After Gimel Elef.
Yeah. Okay, and remember that yesterday was 40 days. So you remember what we're counting now? Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvei sov v'tzivonu al sefiras ha'omer.
Now the important part. Everybody say after Gimel Elef.
Hayoim echad v'arba'in yoim shehem chamisha shavuos v'shisha yomim lo omer. Today is 41 days, which they are 5 weeks and 6 days of the omer.
You don't want to do it, nigga.
Good. Go. That sounds like a good idea.
Do one. All right. Well, we'll follow you. Okay, is that okay, Gimel? If you don't want to sing it, nigga.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh-oh, he doesn't have his piano player here. Uh-oh. So sing it. You sing it. Okay, fine. Label. Label. Sing the one about from the Bechukosai. You, only you, or whatever it is. You, you. Okay, Gimel Ella, sing it, nigga. Gimel Ella, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I will sing a niggin.
There we go.
Nam oye di mama moye nam oye nam oye di mama meti ya mama mokna ya oye di mama te ya mama mokna yo oye di mama oye nam oh, the mom, oh, your mom, oh, the mom, the ya, yo, your mom, oh, your yachna, yo, your mom, the ya, mom, oh, the mom. Ya mama moya 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 mam te ya mama moya yo mam te yo ya ya oh ya oh ya my oh ya di mama te ya mama mohdi de yo moy de yo khmaya de mo wai te ya mamo yo khni de mama te ya ho yo nam ho ya khna de mo yo maram am oh, need your mom. Te yo you na ya mama you na mama te ya oh you na te ya mama te yo na ya di mo na ya di mo na da mama moi na do you na mo na do ai Ой, ох, знаю, дедьем, ох, знаю, дедьем, ох, ну я, мамо, я нам, ты я, ой, ох, знаю, нам, ты я, мам, ты ох, знаю, дедьем, ох, знаю, дедьем, ох, надам, мам, ох, надою нам, ох, надою, ой.
I failed to see the humor.
Bethel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So, the towel requested that we do that.
Well, okay, next time.
But we got this, so I think
We said a nigga.
I think we're good then.
Okay, hit it. Gimel Ella, you there?
Okay. Yeah. So let me see. So we see that the metaphor of the soul enlivening the body, it contains the godly action, which is being explained by all three of these metaphors. But in how the soul enlivens the body, the metaphor of light is hidden, and that's why we explain it with the sun and the candle.
Beautiful.
So now, what is the purpose of these metaphors? The object of the metaphors is to explain the godly dynamic that it reflects. So in the godly dynamic, the light that fills the voils, there are three qualities, right? Just like we said, by the brain and the heart and the liver, there's different three qualities, right? There's light and life and the power or potential, like the actor in the act. So meaning that Malchus of Atzilus, right? The Malchus of Atzilus, this is the attribute of Hashem that expresses his royal decree, right? The coming into being of the creation and its parameters, right? This comes from the Malchus of the world of Atzilus. Like this is, in other words, when Hashem said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and He said, "Let the waters split and reveal the land." Yeah, this is Malchus of Atzilus. It's Hashem. It's the expression of Hashem's command of creation. This is called the light, which this fills all the voils to enliven them and bring them into being. Each being according to its standing in the heavenly and earthly array. In other words, each being, it brings specifically how it needs to be. Your kingship is the kingship over all the voils, Malchuscha, Malchus Kolilam. And also, Atom Mechayes Kulam, who enlivens them all? You enliven them all. Because when we use the term you, we are taught, it indicates this level of Hashem's royalty, Malchus, in specific in this case, Malchus of the world of Atzilus, which is how Hashem is enclosed into attributes. So the first two letters of the word you, Ata, is Aleph, right? It's Aleph, Tov, Hey is the whole word Ata. So the Aleph and the Tov is the first and last letters of the Aleph base, the Hebrew alphabet. Right? And which means it includes all speech, because anything that a person will talk is between the Aleph and the Taf. It's in between these letters. Right? So this makes up the godly decree of creation. And the last letter of Ata, of you, the last letter is Hey. This indicates the divine breath which animates those letters, right? Which means it comes through the 5 speech centers in the mouth, which Hey is the numerical value 5, which this is the source of all letters of speech, is the breath and the 5 points in the mouth. And this level of Malchus of the royalty, Hashem's royal decree, enlivens all the creations. How? By the myriad combinations of the 22 letters of the Aleph base. That each combination says a different thing, like you combine the letters Vayehi Oyer and Yehi Oyer, let there be light, and then there's light because he combined it this way. The combinations of the letters is without measure. So Malchus, the Hashem's royal decree, enlivens and brings into being uncountable creations in each species and uncountable categories of creations, because it can be combined in an infinite amount of ways, these letters. So now this is Malchus of Atzilus, right? This is the royal decree of Hashem in the world of Atzilus. Now in Malchus of Atzilus, there is 2 levels. One is the way it is in Atzilus still, where it is still separate from enlivening creations and bringing them into being. And the second is the way it comes down to become the crown of the created worlds, right? Which descent is brought about through the curtain, which separates the godly world of Atzilus and the created separate worlds. Because in the 4 created worlds, there is Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. The difference between Atzilus is so nullified to godliness that it doesn't even feel its own existence. Whereas the other worlds, they feel their own existence. So even if they might be close to Hashem, but they feel their own existence and they feel themselves to be a separate being, unlike the world of Atzilus, which does not feel itself as a separate entity from Hashem at all. So there's the Hashem's, there's the Malchus Atzilus, Hashem's royal decree. There's the way it is in Atzilus, right, where it is not part of anything separate, it is just included completely in Hashem. And then there's the way it comes down to become the crown of the created worlds which feel themselves to be in existence. And it brings...
I think we call the one how it's in the Philip as the godly thought. How it comes down to the ground of creation will be the godly. I think in general we can understand it. Because the thought is still completely included in the person.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the Malchus of Atzilus, the way it comes down to become a crown of the created worlds. Then it becomes your kingship. In other words, your kingship, the way it is by you and Atzilus, is the kingship over all the worlds. It's the crown of all the created things. And in this way, it brings all of the worlds into being from nothing into a something and enlivens them. Like we say, your name is exalted, right? That in other words, Malchus, in the way it is in the world of Atzilus, right? The royal decree, the way it is in the world of Atzilus, exalted from the creations. Yeah. An array only it's exalted from the creations, and only a ray shines on the heaven and the earth, which is the reflection of this Malchus of Atzilus, which this creates and enlivens all the worlds from something into from nothing into something.
Pretty cool, man.
Yeah, this is amazing stuff. So now, the outflow of Malchus of Atzilus, right, and the outflow of this godly decree, of this royal decree, meaning how it becomes a crown to the world of Bria, how it becomes a crown to the created worlds. It's broken up into 30 vessels, 30, 30. And there's 10 inner vessels, which, like if you remember before, there was an neshama, right? There was different kinds of enlivenment. So there was the vessels that is the inner vessels is the neshama of the world.
They're all the 30 are going to be in the neshama.
Yeah, the 10 is the neshama of Bria. The 10 intermediate vessels, those are the neshama of the next world, the world of Yetzirah, and the 10 outer vessels is the neshama, is the soul of this world, Asiya, down here, our world. So even the 10 outer vessels of Malchus, yeah, so in other words, even the 10 outer vessels of Malchus,
that middle one becomes the world of that other one becomes the sum of the world of
yeah, so now even the 10 outer vessels of Malchus, as it becomes the crown of the lower worlds, they become the inner vessels of the lowest world, Asiya, even though they're the outer vessels of Malchus, but in Asiya, they are the inner vessels.
And the reason is because they're godly. And since they're godly, they enliven the world. They become the soul for that world.
Yeah. So those 30 vessels are godly, being vessels of Malchus of Atzilus, and therefore they can enliven the three worlds. Right? So this so far is the metaphor of the life of the body in the soul. Right? How the soul enlivens the body. Yeah. Now let's talk about the metaphor of the power of the actor in the act, for which there is a second metaphor of one who throws a stone. Right? Because when you throw a stone, it's the power of the actor, of the stone thrower, in the thrown stone. Right? So in flight, the stone is separate from the hand that threw it. Even though the whole arch and the speed and the landing of the stone are controlled and directed by that separate hand, until it's possible to think, right, that the stars and the planets are going around on their own, because it looks like you can't see the hand that's moving them, right? If they're moving on their own, or maybe just random natural forces, right? Because it looks like It's going around on itself, and we don't see the hand moving it. So we could think it's going on itself. But not so the intermediate and outer vessels of the created world, which are not godly but separate creations, which are called angels or limbs of the Shekhinah.
Okay, the inner vessels are the soul of the world. Now you have the middle and the outer vessels in each one of those worlds, which are not godly.
Yeah.
They're separate creations.
Yeah, And for example, the outer vessel of kindness, of chesed, in the world of Bria, which is one of the created worlds, is called the angel Michael. He is the general source of all love, sweetness, and kindness found in the created worlds. Michael is the captain of a cohort of 180,000 messenger angels of love and kindness. In the same way, so that's for kindness. But there's also another angel, as we know, right? There's let's see if we can guess here. There's the outer vessels of strength and strictness in the world of Bria. Which angel is this? Gabriel. Yes, the angel Gabriel. And he is the source of all fear and awe. And he also has himself a big army of 180,000 soldiers. And they are, unlike the soldiers of Michael, who are soldiers of love and kindness, they are the soldiers of fear. And these angels are designated because each one is seemingly the potential and power behind all the particular manifestations of love or fear that will branch from them. Nevertheless, they are called particular powers compared to the real general power potential source, which is Malchus of Atzilus, right? As the way it becomes the crown for all of creation. And Malchus is called the power of all potential powers, and this is also known as the Shem Elohim. This is when we call Hashem Elohim, this is what we are referring to is the Malchus of Atzilus, the way that Hashem is the soul, power and potential of all powers that come out. This level of godliness, of how Malchus of Atzilus becomes dressed in the Keser of Bria, how in the crown of the world of Bria, this is called the power of the actor in the act. So, in other words, that the action of all the different creations is controlled by the angels, but really it's not the angels that are controlling them. There is the real power behind them. Behind all of their action is the godly actor, is Hashem himself, as he is completely hidden in the created worlds, which we know this is Elohim. The name Elohim is how Hashem hides himself in the created world.
Those angels are like the hatchet in the hand of the chopper.
Yeah.
They have no free will of their own. They're just doing what Hashem wants them to do. So he's the real power behind them, even though it appears that they are the power potential for everything that happens. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, it's like
Okay with that? The angels are called hatchets in the hands of the godly chopper. They do exactly what they're directed to do. They have no free will. Even though they're the source of love and fear, so that if you want to, you can choose to serve them. Give you free choice. If you want to, you can run your life. I'm going to get everything sweet, everything good. I'm going to snort cocaine and have a great time, feel what I want. You're serving that angel. But really, that angel is only like a hatchet in the hands of the chopper. It's really Hashem is making it look like you're getting something from them. Really, you're getting nothing from them. Just Hashem is giving you rope to hang yourself. Big choice. That's the way I do it. No, it's not. It's not the fact of angel. It's the fact that you can run after some kind of appetite of your body. after an evil thing, a mean thing, or a sweet thing, you're running after an appetite instead of the one that's in charge of those appetites. And you have free choice to do that. How? Because this is co-op, the power of the actor and the act. It appears God is not connected to what's happening. No, it doesn't mean angels. It means your appetite for something, whatever it is. That's what it means. The angel is in charge of it. But you're serving, you don't think you're serving an angel. You're serving your appetite. But that appetite is the manifestation of that angel.
Yeah, you know what? It's like Fragi.
No pleasure. It means like kindness. Like I'm going to go eat 25 ice cream sundaes. Huh? Could be. I'm just saying, however you want to see it, say it. Take me out to the ball game. It's so much fun in the ball game. So you're running after this thing instead of God. And how? Because Hashem makes this thing that runs that thing that makes you want to run it. That gives you the free choice to serve God or to serve your own appetite.
Yeah, Fragi. Fragi, I remember, it's like, I remember this one Greek soldier who was a real yotzel. And I remember Alexander the Great charged into battle. And this yotzel, a Greek soldier, he got up and he said, oh, all hail the Emperor Alexander's horse. Get it, Fragi, because he thought the horse was the one winning the battle. Because he was a yotzel. Anyways, Alexander helped him to see higher. He took his head off and put it on a pole. Anyways, different story for a different day. By the way, but he didn't realize that, just like it's just a tool in the hand of the person, right? Like I remember Avram Avinu. Remember when the angels visited him? I remember he turned to the angel and he said, "Wow, you're a real tool." Anyways, moving
the angel a fool?
He said you're a real tool, because he realized that the angel is just a tool in the hand of the craftsman. Anyways, weiter. So
Mabel wants to sing a song.
Oh, good.
You want to sing a song? You want to? Go ahead. There ain't no mental. There's no element.
Sorry, Gimel
Hello, it's me, Gimel Aleph. What's this?
You can't sing on a anyway because it's a lag. You can't sing with this part. Just sing it.
What song I'm talking about?
I can't hear which one you're saying.
The English.
Start to sing already. Stop that dance. Okay, never mind. Sing a nigga. Give him out.
Oh, a niggin. I'm gonna sing a niggin. I don't know which one they want me to sing. I couldn't hear them. I'm gonna sing. Te yoch na yo, di doch na yo, ya yoch na di na yo, yach na yo, I di da ya yo, na yo, yach na yo, ach na yach na yo, no di na yo. Oh, yam bam oh di da ya yo. Ho yo ni dam bam. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, yochni dam bam. Oh, yo, ya, ha, ha. Achni dam bam bam. Ochni dam bam bam. Dam bam, ochni dam bam bam. Bam 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 bam. Hoy. Hey yo ho ho. Bam bam bam. Bam bam bam. Hey yam bam bo nado yenanam. Hey nadam bam bam. Ho yo nam bam. Hey. Bam 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 bam. Oh, dam bam bam. Mach dam bam, dam bam bam, mach dam bam bam. Oh, dam bam bam, mach dam bam. Hey yam dam bam. Good job, Chevre.
Good. So the reason why Malchus is called the actors in the act, because Malchus is making those angels do their dance.
Yeah.
And they're controlling the whole stars and everything that's spinning around, and it appears that Hashem has no part in what's happening. There's these angels called the Seraphim, which is Michael and Gabriel, and a lower angel is called the holy animals, and a lower angel is called the wheels, and the spinning of the wheels ultimately causes the spinning of the orbits and the solar system. So it looks like nobody's juggling it, but really it's Hashem in the guise of Malchus of Atzilus that's in charge of the whole deal to serve Hashem and not some appetite.
Yeah.
You okay with
So-
that, Alex?
So now, where are we? So this is the power of the actor in the act. He creates all the creations in the created world, right? Whether they're spiritual ones like our friend, the angel Michael, who is the spiritual source of love and kindness, even though he himself is created from nothing, nevertheless, this is the purpose for which he was created. Also, if we're speaking of him, or if we're speaking about mamish physical creations down here in this world, they are all brought into being by the light and the power of the godly actor, which is embodied in Malchus of Atzilus, the way it becomes dressed as the crown of Bria. Like we explained, that the outer vessel is a creation from nothing, which cannot of itself create something from nothing, but rather the power of Malchus of Atzilus, which is dressed and hidden in that outer vessel, in that angel, uses this vessel, this angel, like a hatchet in the hand of a chopper, that the hatchet has no will of its own and it is just nullified to the chopper, just like the thrown stone. That just because you can't see the hand that is throwing it, of course, the difference is that by a thrown stone, the thrower just throws it and that's it, where Hashem is constantly throwing the stone. So this is called the power of the actor in the act, like the power of the hand to make something happen, which can never happen on its own, which we call something from something when something can happen on its own. Only the form is changed, like for example, a silver bar into a cup. This is a something from something. But Hashem can make a something from zilch, from nada, from nothing. And this tells us that the whole existence of the creations is something completely new. And the power to accomplish this is an essential power of Hashem, because He alone has the unlimited power and capability to bring something in existence from nothing, without a middleman. And to this power, there is no metaphor that it can be properly dressed in. It might be sensed by the heart's desire, but we cannot express this in words.
Beautiful. Thanks to Manoah.
Yasher Koyach.
So somebody asked a question, but they said that the angel Gabriel flows a mean horn. Now, where does that story come from? Let's start with the blessing that we say in the morning, that Hashem gives the rooster the understanding to separate between day and night. Previous Rebbe explains the source of the rooster. The source of the rooster is the angel Gabriel. The angel Gabriel goes in to paradise at midnight and blows his horn like the rooster sings and wakes everybody up at midnight. So too the angel Gabriel goes into paradise and wakes up the soul because Hashem is coming into paradise to have fun with the soul. And, well, is that in the Holy Apple Orchard? That's the question. We have to think about what level that happens. But it could be in the Holy Apple. What happens at midnight?
And there's a song.
There is a song. You know it? Go ahead, sing it.
Guys, let the midnight special shine a light on.
Let the
Special
shine and love the light on me. When I wake up in the morning, I say, Modeh-Ani, thank you for the neshama that you give to me. Let the midnight special shine a light on me. Let the midnight special shine the ever-loving light on me. Okay, so it's about midnight now. So what we'll have to sign off.
Yeah, it's about midnight special.
Huh?
It's about midnight special.
Yeah. So do we sing that song now, or do you have an appeal?
We just did.
Or do you have an appeal?
Oh, I have an appeal. I have an appeal. My dear friends, soon is coming Matan Teiraseinu, the time that Hashem, not that He gave us the Torah just, but that He is giving us the Torah again. So it's important to make a great effort on this Shavuos, which will be a week from Sunday, to go to your closest synagogue and to hear Hashem giving the Ten Commandments. As you know, it is not the Torah reader who is giving the commandments. It is just that he is opening his mouth and Hashem speaking through it, because Hashem gives it to us personally. And I ask everyone, man, woman, child, go receive the Torah from Hashem personally. And go, if you don't know where to go, you can look up on Chabad.org, CHABAD.org, and you can look for, there's a search thing that you can find your nearest Chabad house, and you can find the nearest Torah reading. Go and find out. You can give them a call. That's what they do. That's what the Chabad rabbis do. That they're there for you. That's what the job is to make sure that you can hear the Torah reading. And give a call or send an email and find out where it is and go. It's only it's not a very long thing. And go, and they probably have cheesecake there too. That's an extra fringe benefit. But I urge everybody to make a special effort to go receive the Torah personally from Hashem this year.
Thank you. Amen.
Gezintahait, Gezintahait, my friend.
Remember, kids, Gezintahait.
Gezintahait. Let me see. How do I end this thing?